Yeah, because and then for them to put the key in his pocket, like here, we know somebody's going to come up in here and free you. So here's the key so that they can do it easily because we want people to see the work we put in. And that's literally what the monster said without having said it, which is which is crazy.
It's like you guys forgot to be afraid of us and what we
Absolutely,
could do.
absolutely crazy. Hey, what's going on, Fromily? From season 3, episode 2. What an amazing episode. And from season 3, it's turning out to be an amazing, amazing season. Um, to me, the way they're headed, they are starting to. It's just as good as season 1 to me, if not better, in some ways. And in my opinion, exponentially better than season 2.
The performances in this episode, it's giving Emmy, it's giving Oscar, it's giving People's Choice. There were those award shows are, but I mean the acting performances really stood out. This episode, I mean everybody was on their A game. It made the episode really, really, really special. I mean it was a tearjerker.
Yeah, I mean, completely exceeded the expectations.
And usually after an episode, I have a lot to say, but after this one, I was just like,
You feel like you're just processing,
I don't know what to say.
just processing.
Like, it's just, I just was like, golly, like no one can catch a break.
And with this episode, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna be pulling some of the sounds and the audio from this particular episode because there was a lot of powerful things said, and some things you just can't paraphrase it and give it the impact that it has in the actual show. So let's get started. So the episode begins with Jim and Victor, and they're in the bar with the animals that they saved from the night before.
And just I just want to say it wasn't supposed to be funny. I know that, but that shot of like Jade sitting in the bar and you just hear goats and lambs and it just is a very Jade thing. Just like the last couple seasons, him and the bike, stealing the bike. Like, I know you don't agree with my proclivity. Like, he's just like, he breaks the tension.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they meant that to be something
They did.
to break the tension because it was just like him, and then there's Victor just sitting there like
And
I'm
the
in a
goats
bar.
talking about,
And it's trying to break. I mean, it was funny, and I was trying really hard not to laugh because it was so serious. But I was just like, this is this is hysterical. Like this is not.
Yeah.
This is not the time. Too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Super good. And this is when Jim says, "Hey, I gotta leave and see what's going on," and he leaves, and it transitions to Jim, and he goes in a room with Boyd, and he sees.
You mean Jade?
I'm sorry, Jade leaves, and then he goes in there in the barn, and he sees Boyd, and then he also sees the body or the remains of Mrs. Chen. But while Boyd is tied up, he is saying something really interesting, and it becomes important later in the episode. So let's listen to what Boyd is repeating.
You got to go. You got to go together.
Oh God! Oh Jesus! No!
You got to go.
And initially, when I saw this, I'm like, "What is he saying?" Right? But then, when I initially saw it, I was like, maybe he's saying something because he doesn't want to forget it, right? Mm-hmm. And then it comes full circle later in the episode. But he's sitting there, and you can just feel his emotion. He's just exhausted. He's kind of sitting there, and then, Jay kind of helps him up, and
I mean, it was like Boyd was. I mean, they had put the pocket of the handcuffs in his pocket. It was like Boyd was. This is a warning. Mm-hmm. Like to them, they're the monsters. I mean, they're just like, yeah, like this is us. Like I don't know. To me, that's what it kind of gave.
Yeah, because and then for them to put the key in his pocket, like here, we know somebody's gonna come up in here and free you. So here's the key so that they can do it easily, because we want people to see the work we put in. And that's literally what the monster said without having said it, which is crazy.
It's like you guys forgot to be afraid of us. and what we
Absolutely.
could do.
Absolutely crazy. So then it transitions to Kenny and Jim, and they are, of course, in the woods in those cabins, and Jim discovers food near a large lake, a large body of water. And this is really cool because this food can help sustain the village. But once again, if you watch our previous video, we talked about Fatima and that water and that thing that appears to be hunting Elgin, and we feel like there's going to be a flood or somebody's going to drown. I think that lake is going to play a big part. I think at some point they're going to use that lake to maybe try to kill the monsters, maybe use the lake to try to escape, but that'll be for another video. But they wanted to show us that large body of water, I think. And this is when it transitions to Tabitha. She wakes up and she's in Victor's dad's home because apparently she fainted. And this is when we see Victor's dad. He's got that revolver just like Victor, like father, like son, right? Like father, like son. And he is incredibly skeptical of Tabitha. And this is when he tells Sarah, hey, you know what? Tabitha, I called the police and they will be here soon. And Tabitha is begging him, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And, it transitions to Sarah, and she's going to the clinic, and she tells Christy that we found the body of Mrs. Chen. She's dead. And of course, Christy's like, you don't need to be here. A lot of people are still very leery of Sarah, and for good reason, because of the things that she's done. This is when we see a very emotional scene with Boyd and Jade, and they're bringing Mrs. Chen back to the church. I mean, just an emotional scene. Talk about that scene a little bit, Candace, what you remember. They're walking through the town. Basically, her body is being paraded to everybody that's there.
It wasn't so much as a parade. It was more like a funeral procession almost. I mean, that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of is, letting the people know that somebody did die in the middle of the night trying to save these animals.
And everybody sees it.
Right. And so just as a reminder again for the people who just got here, this is serious. There's a reason why we don't go outside at night, so and then they get to the church, and Boyd kind of has a hard time getting her out of out
of the cart and trying to take her in.
And they put her in, in this is very interesting because Boyd said, we can bury her next to her husband. She would want that. And then Jade said, no, she wouldn't. Which was interesting to me. Like, I don't know if there's some cultural relevance or did he mean to just go ahead and bury her before, just go ahead and get her in the ground before it I'm not sure what the significance of that was. But to me, it had to be important because, Jade, for him to interject something like that to say no, she wouldn't, like, you can see that they had a special relationship.
And it wonders, did she tell him that? Was there some conversation that went off screen where he would know that information? But so they finally get the body in, and they have an interesting conversation, and Jay says something interesting to Boyd, and we're going to listen to that real quick.
Right.
How are you still alive?
They wanted me to watch. Yeah.
Wow. And this is the first time Boyd is telling them that, hey, these things wanted me to see how violent they were with Mrs. Chen. And the look on Jade's face when he says that, it's like what? Like, it's so hard to comprehend why these things would be doing something like that when this is completely new behavior and everybody's trying to figure out.
Because Donna in the first season, right, told them that, she watched her sister get killed by these monsters, and she said it was like they were being hunted. Like, it wasn't like oh, you kill something as like a food source or something. They just got, joy out of like torturing her. And that's what Boyd actually saw like torture. Like they really, oh, godly.
But this is the thing that, from a cinematic perspective, as a filmmaker myself, an independent filmmaker, this was a part that I was like, wow, amazing, right? And this is when we see Boyd. He's leaving from in there with Jim. But as he's leaving, I'm sorry, with Jade. But as he's leaving, they actually show us what Boyd actually saw when she was tearing him apart.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to do that.
I was hoping, like, not in a bad way, but when I saw episode 1, I was like, dang, why did they take that away from us, right? Because we've never seen what the monsters do. We know what they do, but we've never seen it, right? And I was like, dang, it was almost like they want to give us an opportunity to see what it looks like when they do their thing, but they took it away from us. But I thought it was genius how they showed us what it actually looked like and what Boyd was actually seeing.
Now imagine, say that we are right and that you have to die to kind of get out of there. Is that how you would want to go?
I don't.
There's a level of not, what's the word, preservation, because I mean that's just a natural thing. Humans, it's just like when you're drowning, you're like you're trying to live. Your body, your mind, and your body is like, I'm gonna struggle. It has this natural reflex to try to survive, right? So putting yourself in a situation where it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna let them kill me, but knowing that is what you're gonna have to go through in order to get out. Like, is there another way?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would definitely try to find another way, and that's why you guys have to check out the video we did right before this one, where we talk about that creature that's harassing Elgin that looks like Fatima.
Right.
And when you talk about people wanting to get out of here, we talk about that Fatima might either die from drowning because she commits suicide or because something happens. But watch that video because I don't want to get on a tangent. Yeah, we'll get on a tangent when we got to get through this particular video. So this is when we see it transitions to Ethan and Julie. And Victor barges in, and it is a very emotional scene, for everybody that is present, particularly for Ethan. And then Victor finally comes in himself. And when Victor comes in, he is just completely distraught, He grabs his stuff. He's like, I got to get out of here. And they're like, Victor, where are you going? And let's play a little bit of that, and then I want to talk about that because it kind of frustrated me a little bit.
Because
we have to help her.
We can't help her. She's dead. She's dead, Ethan. People die here. I told you that. It's not make-believe. I told you that bad things happen here. It's not my fault that you didn't listen. I have to go.
That is where Ethan lost his childlike wonder and innocence.
Yeah. But once again, this dude Victor everybody just keeps leaving without talking and having conversations. It's obvious that Victor's going to be motivated to do something. What he's going to do, we don't know. But we know that Victor knows so much. And it's like he lets his emotions stop him from being an asset to the community. And it's really starting to get frustrating. And a lot of people who follow our channel, and when people talk about Victor, everybody loves to say, oh, Victor has trauma. He's been through so much stuff. Yes, but damn, you know so much. At a certain point, you got to say, you know what? I may be not in a good position to help necessarily, but let me tell you what I know. And and he barges out, and it's like, where are you going, Victor? Where are you going? I don't know, man. Like, what do you think about this whole thing? About like people like Victor and that was a great scene though.
I think it's really irresponsible of him.
Yeah.
And it's weird because Victor has gone through this several times before. So
And we've talked about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've talked about that. So it's like, what did he expect something different? Like, was there like hope there? Like, I don't know what at this point what can he do?
Yeah.
Maybe that's his line of thinking, like, what can I do?
Yeah.
I can tell you all this stuff, but then what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And like I said, there's a part of it where he may just be beat down, but at the same time, it appears like they finally have a group of people in the town who could actually make something happen. Whereas it didn't seem that way in the past, because in the past, everybody was just hiding. You know what I'm saying? There was no townsmen. There was no real strategy. Now the town seemed like it had people that were movers and shakers that could figure things out and make things happen.
I want to know where they were hiding.
Yeah, underground.
before.
Remember, they were like just underground, just different places, just being quiet. Because their survival at that time just depended on them being quiet. Which is very.
I want to know how they know the talisman would work.
I think it was, remember, it was by accident, Boyd, when he found him in the cave. And the monsters left him alone when he was in the cave. And then he just kind of assumed that it was those things that, kind of kept them away. This is when it transitions to Tabitha. And she's trying to explain to Victor's father about that what I'm saying is true. And she's explained to him all of the missing families that exist, that are there and from. They're looking up old newspaper articles. And, they're on the internet. And he really doesn't believe her. He really doesn't believe her until she says something that kind of makes him say, you know what? My wife said something like that. You might be telling the truth. This is when it transitions to Donna and Boyd, and they have a very emotional moment. And I like this scene, but then also it makes me, once again, it gives me pause about Donna again. So let's listen into the scene between Donna and Boyd.
How many did you save?
What?
Animals. How many did you save? Was it worth it? Risking everyone's lives for what? An extra goat, a cow? How much better off are we today than we were yesterday?
Wait. Are you saying that I had a choice? Those animals are all we have.
No, Boyd! We are all we have. Us. These people. This family. That is all we've got, and now we've got one left.
So what was I supposed to do? Just stand there watching our only resource go wandering off into the wood. We would have
We
starved.
would have found another way!
Yesterday, you were ready to crawl into a fucking hole because the crops had spoiled. And now you're standing there telling me that we would have found another way. That I should have get the fuck out of here.
When he said that, I felt that shit. Get the out of here. I felt that. And I mean, they had so many magical scenes of acting and emotion, and I literally could feel that shit.
Yeah, I mean, the acting was just, it was great. I mean,
you could. I felt like I was in From. I felt like I was there.
Right?
I literally felt like I was there. And
like I was watching on a fly on the wall. Mom and dad are arguing. Like I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yes. So then it transitions to Fatima. She's in the bathroom. She's throwing up. And she's doing really bad. And this is when she looks in the mirror and one of her teeth are coming out and she pulls it out. And for Elgin and Fatima, they go to the clinic. And while they're there, they really don't want to get services from Christy's girl because they're like, yo, you're basically
An addict.
and a recovering addict, and they just doubt her prowess. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you really have the skill set to help my wife? This is weird to me because she is very good at building relationships and rapport. I don't trust this woman, dude. Like, and then she gave her the medicine. She gave her that medicine. We're gonna have to see how that goes. But something about her does not seem right.
Really?
I didn't
don't
like
know.
it.
I didn't see it. It just seemed to me like she pediatric nurse trying to help. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't get that vibe from her.
Okay. Okay. And then this is when we see Jim and Kenny. They arrive to the town, and they arrive and they're excited and they're like, "Yo, we found all this freaking food. It's a big ass lake. We might be able to go fishing." Like, and then everybody in the town is doing what?
Just looking like, ugh.
And then they both were like, "This is not the reception we expected when we came with all of this good news and stuff." And
immediately Jim asked, "Where are my kids?
Where are my kids?" Mister, I'ma just dip and leave my kids. Now he's concerned about...
I'm just gonna leave that alone, because at this point, I feel like the writers heard us last season, and gave us what we needed, gave Jim what he needed to hear through his daughter. So I'm just gonna leave Jim alone.
Leave it be. But then there's a very emotional scene when Kenny comes to the realization that his mother is probably dead. Let's listen in on that.
Mom! Stop, no. Mom, Mom! Hey, bud. Ken. No, stop. Bud, No. So... Stop, no. Listen, no, stop. Just stop. Okay.
Another great scene. Really felt like you were just right there in the moment. And it transitions to back to Ellis and Fatima, and they're back in the clinic and they're given some medicine and, kind of sent on their way back home. They kind of leave feeling excited that, oh, it seems like the baby's doing fine. It looks like everything's going to be okay. But we're going to see.
She just needs to eat more.
Yes. And it transitions back to Kenny, and there's still, he's still recovering, and he's in the diner and he's talking to Christy. And she says, "Look, I'm going to take care of your mom," because he said, "I don't want the last memory of how I see my mom to be like how I saw my father," because he says, "Every time I think of my father, I don't think about any of the positive things of my dad. I think about how he looked after those monsters destroyed him, and I don't want to have that memory of my mom." And Chrissy says, "I got you." She says, "I got you. I'm going to take care of you and take care of this situation."
They clean her up. Sarah brings a drink.
But you hold on though. But when she leaves, that doggone music starts playing. And what song does it start playing?
Celebrate.
And it's like something is teasing him. Something is trying to drive these people mad. And like, the more
they got Sarah to kill her brother. They got Boyd to kill his wife. They're doing something to the food. They got Tien by opening up that gate. I mean, all of these little occurrences that we just thought about before, now it's starting to look like we're gonna break you and we're gonna break everybody else as well.
And you know what? Like, I was trying to figure out what could this thing be, because there's so many things that are happening in Fromville that are awkward and weird. Because, when Jim on the radio, "Your wife shouldn't be digging that hole," at the end of season 1. When different people seem to know things, when Boyd yells out in the woods, "You won't break me," and now the monsters are like, "You said we couldn't break you." Something is listening to them something is happening. And one of our subscribers commented, they said, what if it's the crows that are transferring hearing and I don't know. But it's making me lean more and more because there's some type of psychological element to this where it appears like they are trying to break them. You know, and it's like this, man, it's starting to make me lean more toward that this may be some type of experiment or something to that effect, some kind of virtual reality simulation that a lot of people are saying, because like, why would that music box start playing that song at that particular moment? But if nothing else, but to try to break this man.
Right.
If nothing else. So then it transitions to Julie, and Jim has just come home and she's pissed off, you know, and she has a very disrespectful moment with him and basically says, look, I can't be the one that picks up all of the tragedy and the grief and stuff once again, like what I picked up when my brother died years ago and I was the one taking care of Ethan while our world went to shit. But let's listen to that, because the way she said it, she was letting him have it.
You know that? You should have been here, Dad. I can't be like before.
Hey, hold on. What are you talking about?
I can't be the fill-in parent while you lose your shit.
I was looking for your mother.
Mom is gone. Okay, she's gone. She went through a tree and now she's gone.
Don't know that.
Dad, people can't survive more than a few hours at night without a talisman. She's been gone 4 days. I know you feel bad that you didn't stop her, but I can't.
Very emotional moment. And she said a lot of things that he needed to hear. But it's like, why does a child got to tell you that?
Right. It's the parentification of the eldest child. And after watching that, I understand now why she chose to go to Colony House. Girlfriend probably just needed a break.
And it's funny that you say that, because I was thinking that, like, chick, like, you tried to dip on your family when y'all first got there to go live with some strangers. But an emotional moment, and kind of setting the tone. And now it's back to Tabitha. She's at Victor's father's house, and they seem to be building some good rapport. And he's talking more about his wife and kind of explaining how she began to hear the voices. And he takes her to his children's rooms and kind of shows them around. And then this eventually, and he shared something that, like, he says, people thought I killed my family. And it brings me back to, like, why would Tabitha call her mom? Because to me, I think that that's going to bite her in the butt that she called her mom, because now people may be looking for them. But then also, if you get captured or something like that, the first thing people are going to think is that you killed your family, because you have this ridiculous ass story. And that's why I don't think Tabitha should have ever have called her mom. She should have just went on that mission with Victor's, or you know, try to find his dad or whatever, or somebody in front, and not to call your mom, especially to call her and just to hang up on her. And now, of course, I know her mom's going to call law enforcement. You know she is. Like, my daughter called me. She's been missing. You know she is. Chrissy and Jim began to plan on working on the body, and Jay says he will help her out, because Christy says, I don't know how to do this. Ellis and Fatima arrive back at the Colony House, and Fatima begins to eat rotten food. And I was like, she's back. Ellis has to leave her because he said, I'm going to go check on my dad. She's supposed to go back in Colony House. She sees I'm about to throw some of the old food out. She goes over, sniffs it, and begins to eat it. What do you think that was about?
I think that's just pica. When pregnant women, they develop this syndrome where they have really intense nausea, but the only thing that they can stomach is something that should not be consumed, like dirt or chalk or toilet paper. I mean, it's just like the weirdest thing. And then a lot of times it's because your body is needing a certain nutrient. So I didn't really look too much into that.
I don't know, man, because I don't trust her, and something's happening to her body. I'm wondering, is she starting to rot? You know, like, is she rotting from the inside, or or I don't know. Like you said, it could just be something as simple as that. But I don't know, man, because it's just I don't know. That was a weird scene. What in the comments? What do y'all think that shit was about? Like, because that was just really weird to me. It transitions to Donna. Donna, she's in the kitchen butchering the dead cow that the monsters killed.
I'm so glad they were able to save that cow.
Yeah. It transitions to Jim or Jade and Christy. They're fixing the body of Mrs. Chen. Such a beautiful moment. They're wiping her face down, getting the blood off, being very meticulous and being delicate and caring for her, just like how she cared for everyone else in the town. I mean, I don't even know this woman, but I feel like I think everybody in their life has had a grandmotherly figure like that, right? And we can all identify and relate to her. Boyd sees Kenny, and it transitions to Boyd, and we see Kenny filling up huge bottles with alcohol and liquor, and they have a very powerful moment. Let's listen in on that.
What are the bottles for?
I'm going into the tunnels. I'm gonna find those things. And I'm gonna burn every last fucking one of them.
You think that'll work?
We burned the last one.
The last one was already dead.
I don't care. Don't care. I'm gonna make those fucking things hurt.
And he literally could understand everything he was feeling. And after that, Boyd says, you know what? I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. And it transitions to them being right outside of the cave. And there's a powerful moment there. Very powerful moment, several powerful moments. And I'm going to play a little bit of that.
This is how they want us. Angry. Stumbling around in the dark. I also know this. Hey, if we find them, there's a good chance we are not coming back. But if this is what you want to do, I will go with you side by side, and we will take out as many of those motherfuckers as we can.
And powerful moment, but at the same time, we realize that he's playing not a mind game, but wanting to support Kenny. And this is probably one of my favorite scenes in a film, where he explains to Kenny what his mom was saying. And it really kind of sets the tone for this moment.
No, I don't even know if I'm saying this right.
Take care of him. That's what it means. Take care of him.
Powerful moment. They hug, they embrace. They're really having a father-son moment. And what's interesting, it's almost like, in a lot of ways, Boyd lost his son a little bit. Even though their relationship is getting a little bit better, it's almost like Kenny is his son. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
It's almost like he's his son, because we know that his relationship with his biological son is really estranged, because of he had to kill his mom, and because she was shooting people in the town, and he was frustrated with his dad, because he said mom is breaking, but he was so busy. Boy was so busy at going in the forest, finding animals, foraging, that he missed the opportunity to care for his mother. And eventually she snapped, and it really created a divide between them. And even though they're on like talking terms, I still feel like they don't have that it's not as strong as it was. And Kenny now has that relationship with him. So then it transitions to Julie, and she's talking to Sarah, and another great scene right here.
I think this place has gotten in my head now. I'm scared of what that might mean. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't.
It's okay. You can say it.
I don't want to end up like you.
I wouldn't either.
Great scene. Great scene. And I think it also is setting it up for people to really start forgiving Sarah, because the town is driving everybody mad. And now people, I think, are going to be more in a position to say, you know what? It wasn't maybe her, it was the town. So this, when we see it transitions to Victor and Victor's dad, and he's showing Tabitha all of the pictures that his mother has drawn, all of the things that she said in the past. And this is when he says something very, very interesting. He says that there may have been multiple people like her who had the ability to see these children and to be able to have these drawings, but she may have been the first to actually escape. And while he's having this conversation, it is a voiceover while the funeral is occurring. And it kind of reminded me of our last video. I kind of said something similar, how like the Matrix Neo, there was supposed to be multiple Neos, but he was the one that was actually the most successful. And I brought that up in the last video, and here it is. He's talking about that there may have been multiple people. So let's take a moment to listen to that for a second.
I'm free, and none of them had ever gone home. So if you've seen the children, if they've called to you, then I guess you've been chosen now too. So how did you get out?
She sees that picture of his black and white. How did you get out? That's how you get out.
Mm-hmm. She sees the boy in the white. And I'm curious to see where that relationship is going to go. Because initially, a lot of people feel very suspect about Victor's dad. During the initial meeting, they was like, this dude is a weirdo. You know, was he in the town? You know, who is this guy? But to me, it seems like he's a broken guy who lost his family, and he wants to know where his family is, and he's going to have an opportunity to maybe get his son back. It looks like he's going to do everything in his power to help Tabitha so he can get his son back. And then it's important to mention that this voiceover is occurring while the funeral is occurring. Very emotional scene. And the final scene of the film, we see the funeral is over, and Boyd says, we're going to catch one. They're finally going to go on the freaking offensive, which they should have been for such a long time. And he said, we're going to catch one. And I'm curious to see how they're going to catch one, what's going to be the bait, and how they're going to do it, especially since these monsters have evolved. And then the final scene is Jim abandons his kids again as they're like, we're going to go check on the animals.
And I was just like, dude, go with them.
Yeah. He's like, it's getting dark. Whatever, we'll be back. But you know, the thing is, out of all that stuff that just happened that day, like, why? Anyway, he needs to get a hold of his children. But I felt like when it happened, I said the only reason they did that is because they wanted us to see something with him alone in the house. He goes in the house, pours a cup of water, and then, you know, while he's in there, that's when we notice, and he says, so once again, another amazing episode. Mm-hmm. I mean, so much to dive into. Like, can't wait to do the second video, just kind of discussing some of the theories and stuff and what's going to happen moving forward. But thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We've been putting in a lot of work on the channel. I don't know why it seems like YouTube is kind of messing with us, because we typically get thousands of views when we talk about the show. And lately we haven't been getting that. But please hit that like and subscribe button to help support us, a small channel. And our watch has ended.